y'all please rise and say the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. This is a problem that is in our community very deeply, and something that I think we all feel we need to address. We need to address the aspect of illegal use. We need to address the aspects of public health concerns and the costs to our society and to our people. There's been discussion about policy versus politics and politics being involved. Whenever we talk about any issue where we're going to expect our council or our legislature or anybody, any body to deal with it, politics are going to get involved. Tonight, though, is not the time for any partisan politics. It's not the time for any. Basically, tonight is about education. It's about learning about this problem. It's about learning that there is hope for those who have been caught up in it. One of the things that I was really blew me away is that this does not discriminate. This takes people from what we would expect to be good families, and that we would expect never to get involved with this, and yet it does. So, let me just mention a little bit about politics. Politics is a compound word. It starts off with poly meaning many, and ticks, which are blood-sucking crabs. Okay, there's a more formal definition of politics. I'll make this available later if you really want to listen or read it. The origin of the word for both politics and policy comes from the Greek politikos, or polis, which is city or citizen. please feel free to grab a piece of paper, hand the piece of paper to me, and then we'll, after our presentation have commenced, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. There are no dumb questions. There may be inappropriate questions, but there are no dumb questions. Anything you'd like to say? Thank you. So first, let's start off talking about the impact on our community. Is our chief of police, a gentleman who served our community for a number of years, enjoys the respect of our community, and has really taken this issue head on and done what he can and what our department can do. And I'm very pleased to introduce and kick things off tonight, Chief Dan Kelley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Well, and welcome everybody, and I'm happy to see so many faces here. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. What I had hoped to do tonight was just to give you a little bit of an overview on where Old Orchard Beach is with this issue. We've since 2011 been keeping, or trying to keep statistics as accurately as we can that give us a picture of where we are with this particular problem. This isn't 100% correct. We've had 3 or 4 different systems that we've kept records in over the last 5, 6, or 8 years. We've been merging things, so these numbers may not be 100% correct, but they're pretty close to being accurate. So I'll start off just by telling you that since 2011, we've experienced 16 overdoses, arrested 44 people, we've had 0 deaths, and used Narcan 10 times in 2011. 2012, we had 13 overdoses, 56 arrests, 2 deaths, and 6 Narcan. 2013, we had 8 overdoses, 39 arrests, 1 death, and 6 Narcan. 2014, we had 16 overdoses, 35 arrests, 5 deaths, and 18 Narcan. 2016, we had, to date anyway, 15 overdoses, 19 arrests, 2 deaths, and 15 Narcan. Again, that just gives you a small picture of what we experience here in this community, not necessarily opioids, but drugs in general, marijuana, or other things. Alcohol abuse is a big issue for us here. We certainly have numerous numbers of overdoses in that particular category. We're going to talk about opioids and the effects that they have on our community, so let's get to just that. But we've done a bunch of things that we think have helped in making a difference in the types of clientele that comes to this community. As a lot of you know, we have a population that tends to move in during the winter months that moves into winter rental type of housing. Over the years, we've had a lot of issues with that, and we've made an effort to try to correct some of those properties that were a little bit substandard, that were attracting the types of people that bring this type of thing to our community. Not that that's the only place it comes from, but in our experience, from what we've seen, there's a significant number of those types of houses that attract this type of clientele. They come here, I think, because they find that in the winter months it's kind of secluded. It's a good place to hide. It's a good place to set up for a temporary period to do their business. But through our licensing ordinances, we have a license review board that meets on a regular basis when there are complaints against property. When we have those complaints, we have a hearing, and if we determine that that property is somehow not up to standard, then sanctions can be levied against the person's business license or license to operate. And we've been successful in eliminating several of the traditional places where these people have been coming on a regular basis and they've had to close. So that's worked well for us and made a big difference out of that. We also established drug safe zones within the community. And because we're such a small community, it really worked out well for us because, like a park, for example, you can establish a drug-free zone in that area that extends out 1,000 feet from that particular piece of property. And in Old Orchard Beach, our beach is considered a park. So for 1,000 feet from the high tide mark inland, which comes up almost the first that's made a difference. Because we're such a small community, we have parks and schools and those kind of things, it's a good portion of the community that's covered under this. We're looking at trying to establish another one in a place called Gill Park in Ocean Park. And we stand out quite a ways there. We do have some issues there in the wooded area, so that should be helpful. We've also established a special enforcement team. I think it was back in 2011 that we began that. And we assigned a couple of our officers to that to work the drug issues specifically. And for about 3 years, they really did quite a job of cleaning up a lot of the issues that we were having to make a number of pretty significant arrests. And what we found after that, based on information we get from the main drug enforcement agency, who we have an officer assigned to now, that a lot of the talk on the street anyway was coming to Orchard Beach because we have this team, and they know that because it's so small, they stick up like a sore thumb sometimes. So that was good news. I'm glad to hear that. Whether or not that's actually true or not, who knows, but it sounds good anyway. And so, you know, we've done all of those things, and hopefully that's making a difference. We're a small community, and I don't know how these numbers compare to, say, Starville, for example, or Jefferson, obviously have a lot more area, so I would assume you're a much bigger community, so I would assume your numbers are probably significantly higher than ours. But we do feel like we've made a difference, and we realize that there's a lot more to this than just the enforcement piece. But we're law enforcement, and we're a small town again, and we don't have the resources. There aren't that many options for us. The Project Hope in Scottsdale obviously works well, and it's something I'm sure you can cheap over. But we don't have that option. And although we'd like to, I just think it's a very expensive and cumbersome process, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm sure you can explain it. But for us, we just don't have the resources to do that. So I think that pretty much covers what we've experienced here and where we're at, and I think later on there'll be opportunities for questions. Hopefully we can answer something. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. It is, you know, we have people dying, and Chief, you know, indicated we have people that are being brought back with Narcan, and as long as we can keep them coming back, we still have hope. Next up, the operator of the bed and breakfast down in Alfred is open 24 hours a day. And
actually, I have a PowerPoint, so you perhaps may want to go to someone else, and then I can set my PowerPoint up.
Sure.
Sure. I was going to be difficult.
All right.
How am I doing so far, Joe?
It's okay.
All right. I've heard Tim Sevigny talk about this issue. He's a firefighter, paramedic, and veteran, and he's been dealing with this issue for a number of years in a bigger city than Old Orchard Beach, except during the summer. We are bigger than you are during the summer. But he talks about overdoses and what to do, what not to do. And he's kept a number of people alive so that they can get better. Number of people that he has kept alive, I guess, are successfully in recovery now. So that's a wonderful thing. Tim?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for hosting this event. Thank you guys for coming and listening. Like Mike said, I'm a firefighter paramedic with the city of Bedford. I've been here for 20 years. I'm not endorsed by the city of Bedford or the Bedford Fire Department to be here. This is just a passion of mine and going around speaking on the heroin epidemic is important to everyone. To me, this is an educational lesson for everyone, and this is my most important part. So I'm going to bring you guys down history lane to start. It started back around 1980 when doctors and hospitals started using opiates, the pain medication outside of cancer patients. They started using them for injuries, for surgeries. That's where it all started, 36 years ago. It took 36 years to get here. Then back in 1996, a company called Purdue Pharma. I encourage everyone to look them up and do some research on them. Actually, 1995, they were approved by the FDA for a drug called Oxycontin. 2000, the FDA approved, 1996, they approved an 80 milligram tablet to be used. In 2000, the FDA approved 160 milligram tab because many of the users were, it was ineffective at that point, so that's why they doubled the dose. That should have been a red flag problem right there. So right around then is when the problems started happening with recreational use, right around 2000, with oxycontin. It was a perfect drug to crush, snort, to smoke, or to cook and inject. So that's when it really, so we're talking about a 20-year problem, how we get here today. Between 2000 and 2012, people of Maine that had family members with addiction were able to lobby the governor to reduce the amount of opiate-driven drugs to be prescribed by doctors. That's when we started seeing a problem. Because all of a sudden now, the recreational use of your FDA-approved prescription drugs, the price started going up. Supply and demand. The price started going up. So that's when we started seeing the introduction of different types of drugs coming in the market. So for many years, recreational users that were using your OxyContin as recreational use, they knew their dose, they knew what it was, they knew how to take it. It was never an issue. They were like you and I, they were functioning on their drugs every single day. They never overdosed because they knew what it was. Part of our clinicals, we had to work at the poison center. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that call the poison center every day and ask the question, I found a pill. And before I dispose it, can you tell me what it is? It's oval or it's round, it has a number on it, it has a color. Every day people will call the poison center to find out what the drug was. They probably bought it on the street, they wanted to know if it was safe to take and to use. And that's what they were doing. Like I said, 2010, 2012, we started seeing overdoses pop up. And for us, obviously, it was a concern. And for reaction, it's not as if you a reaction. So the minute we started taking the opiate drugs off the street, we needed to do something then. We needed to put 2 or 3 clinics in every single community, larger communities, to help these people. What we're doing today, what I'm doing today, educating them, needed to happen then. Everyone needs to be educated, understand the drug. Perfect example, my parents are old French people, and they have this idea that drugs go to a certain class of people. We go everywhere, so we see them everywhere, the overdoses. It doesn't discriminate. They're among us, they're around us. And it starts, the educational piece really starts with our little kids. We as a community and a society are very busy. So we bring our children to the doctors, and we want the doctor to give our kid a pill to make them better. Think about that. Family before medication. Start when they're little, that's how we educate them. So all these kids know as they grow up is, I take a pill, it makes everything better. That's the number one thing we can do is educating our school kids on is that right there. So that's how we start with the little kids to educate them. I have a friend that comes from Mexico. And to this day in Mexico, if you go in for a surgery, when you have an injury, they don't give you an opiate drug, they give you Tylenol and Advil. Like you said, we don't have an addiction problem in Mexico. The addiction problem in Mexico is the United States. So all the calls now. Somebody goes to respiratory arrest. Somebody calls 911. This is where it gets all warm and fuzzy and tricky, and everyone reacts differently. People panic when their friend overdoses and they go on respiratory arrest, so several things happen. One, they will leave their friend there, go to a different location, and then make a phone call. Nobody wants to get caught. Nobody wants to get caught with drugs. That's why people die. So people call 911, we show up. And when we show up, more than likely, there's probably going to be, in our community, we're going to show up probably 5. And if it's an overdose or it's a control overdose, we'll probably have 7 people there working on this one person to get them back. was using. I didn't do any drugs. I didn't do any drugs. We hear this over and over and over again. It is sad. It is real. So then we have conversations with them because they're real people. And the story goes, I don't have to wait to use, but I have to wait to go to rehab. So we have completely failed on the rehabilitation part of the state when we started limiting the amount of opiates we can have out there. Education, enforcement, and treatment. There is no one fix. And what I've done the last couple of years, going to school studying the mind and the brain, you talk about this a lot. People who quote programs. These people need people, not being pushed away from them. Some important things about users. Obviously, we don't want anybody to use, but some people are still addicted and they're using. Never use alone, because if you do, more than likely that dose is going to be your last dose and you won't be back. See it over and over and over again. Somebody finds it later on the night or the next morning. If you have to use, don't use with your children. They cannot unsee that. They will see that image for the rest of their lives. If you're going to use with a friend, only one use. Don't both of you use, because you will make the news because both of you will die. If you have to use, please don't drive after, because you will crash. And more than likely, so there's a chance that somebody will get killed. And most importantly, if you're alone and you're desperate, you have to use, do it in a public location. You hear that more, you see that more. People are using in parks, people are using wherever. I like to say we should put safe places up for them to use where people are watching. These people are desperate for that dose, and if they're alone, they're probably going to die. Because every dose is probably going to be your last dose. Heroin coming in here now is not just heroin. It comes in as heroin into the country, and then it's being cut. In this guy's basement, that guy's basement, this guy's storage container, this guy's car, it's being cut with everything. It's not a controlled substance that we know from like FDA approved drug. You don't know where it came from. It's a bad drug you're taking, and you're probably going to die. Please do not stick them in a cold bathtub. Time and time again, don't know where this came from, who thought it was a good idea. If they saw it on a movie, it makes it worse for all of us. Because now we get there, you're submerged in the tub, in cold water, and we have to pick you up out of there. It is not easy. And if your friend leaves you there, you're probably going to drown. Cold packs. We've seen people using cold packs. They stuff their pants with cold packs. Whatever they can find in their freezer. It's not going to work. The only way you're going to get them back is if you breathe for them and call 911. Another important thing is you see now people are getting their own Narcan. If you are a user and someone uses Narcan on you, please still call 911, because more than likely the drug that you took is stronger than the dose of Narcan that you used, and the opiates still will block the receptors in a short period of time, and you will go back in respiratory arrest and you have no more drug to fix it. Please call 911 if you use Narcan. We're seeing more and more now. People think it's their fix. They don't need to call us. No one needs to know. We're still showing up because the drug they took was stronger than the Narcan they used, and all they had was one dose. And this is just observation with addicts. Once you become an addict, you become a label. Once you're labeled, you can't find work. You can't be normal in society. And these people, at that point, need more people than anything else. Part of the programs, I think, is we introduce, basically, getting them into special work facilities with details for these people to work 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Because the problem with the using is they have nothing to do but watch Netflix all day long at home. methadone. We see that time and time again. You're a user, you get your methadone, you come home, a friend that's never done anything before, look clear viral, looks harmless. We see overdoses from friends of users who are in rehab. It is sad. There is no one answer, there is no one fix for this. It took us 20 years to get into this mess. People need to be patient, everyone needs to be educated, and it's going to take an army to combat this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. There's no one I know who makes it more real than Tim Sevigny on this issue. And now, our sheriff.
Just hit it twice, Mike.
Again, like Mike was saying, I mean, Bill Canyon, and I'm the sheriff of York County, and it truly is an honor to be here. Especially with this thing, you know, I appreciate Michael for putting this together, but this is a conversation that has to be had, and it has to be had all the time. We can never have too many of these conversations, and especially when I look up at this panel. I mean, it's truly an honor to be here. I look at Chief Kelley, who does a tremendous job in this small community that just explodes in the summertime. Chief Moulton, who has initiated Operation Hope, not just for people of Scarborough, but we sent York County people there too, and I appreciate that. You know, and Tim and Mrs. Coleman, who see this thing up close every single day. And Chris, who's going to share his story. And even in the audience, I mean, BJ Broder, who's the lawyer of the day at the jail, I see him constantly, and he sees people detoxing constantly, and Carol Lovejoy, the person that also sees people getting their children taken away. It just is, it just affects everybody. It transcends all facets of our society. Tim mentioned, gee, the old, what his parents used to think about, and I'm saying, well, that's kind of what I thought about. This was the heroin use that I thought about. You know, it was dirty, in an old bathroom, shooting up, and it was just disgusting, and nobody really cared that much about heroin. But it has changed through time. Ever hear that? This was made out of Ohio, another state that didn't get very hard with heroin.
Our suburbs, in our schools, our jobs, and even our homes. If you don't already know somebody infected by heroin, chances are you will. Right here in Firefighter County, heroin kills more people than homicides. And heroin overdose deaths have shot up almost 400%.
I just can't leave your seat. You told them not to leave your seat.
what's killing us. For more information, I can save lives.
When you hear that, I was walking around the jail yesterday, and I was speaking to some of the female offenders, and there's one female offender, I asked, why are you here? And she said, oh, I'm here for that. I said, do you have a drug issue at all? Because that's usually a good segue to start talking about it. She says, no, I don't. It's just myself and another girl who doesn't have a drug issue. We really feel out of place. This was actually what this young lady told me. I mean, we did a very informal study, and we found that almost everybody, and again, this was an intern from a college, came in here, almost everybody in the jail, except for a handful, were there for drug addicted or drug affected type of drug abuse crimes. It starts, and Tim mentioned that, it typically starts with prescription medication. If somebody offers you an oxy or something similar, or Percocet, to get you feeling high, you may want to just fit in. And most first-time users get it from a friend or a relative, and it's a great feeling. And the FBI terms this as chasing the dragon. That once you have that high, you keep trying to get a higher one and a higher one and a higher one. And that's what I don't know if any of the panelists are going to talk about fentanyl, but typically heroin is laced with fentanyl, and now it just keeps upping the scale. As if it couldn't get any worse, now we have fentanyl, which is actually an elephant tranquilizer. How does this happen? 70% of those who get it in Maine, who start with prescription medication, start to get it from a friend or a relative. This is a new PSA just released by the Attorney General's office. Don't worry about it, I got it from my dad. He's got plenty.
Sounds good. Thanks, man. Hey, don't think about that. Get so many bottles, you can't even keep track.
Yeah, so many bottles. That's why the drug take back, which Dr. Patterson back in the room is very involved with, is extremely, extremely important. To get that unused or expired medication out of your medicine cabinets. You know, what you're going to look for is you're going to look for new associates. Again, everybody's here for their own particular reason. And if you have somebody that you suspect, or a family member, or a neighbor, look for those types of, look at these statistics. Nationally, in 2014, 1.4 million people used prescription painkillers for the very first time. More than 10 million people over the age of 12 reported non-medical use of prescription painkillers. 1 in 5 high school seniors reported using prescription drugs at least one time. And there's a very quick transition from prescription medication to heroin. Heroin addiction often starts with that prescription medication. Maine experienced an 84% increase in prescription drug overdoses in the last 5 years. Was just saying how people will just leave. They'll just take off and they'll leave their friend there. 93% of our addicts don't think that they need help. This is the picture that I was used to. That's the picture I was used to of that person in the dirty bathroom. But the new heroin user is male or female between the ages of 18 and 24. They are coming from all different socioeconomic backgrounds. I want to read this, and this is why, I'm just so proud of Maine people. We are battling this addiction, but if any people are going to solve it or get out ahead of it, it's going to be Maine people. That's because we're all willing to help, we're all willing to share our combined experiences, and I'm going to read this obituary. The young lady on the right is Molly Cox, Old Orchard Beach. Molly Alice Parks, 24, who most currently resided in Manchester. passed away in Manchester on April 16, 2015, as a result of a heroin overdose. She was born in York, Maine on March 13, 1991, a daughter of Tom and Patty Mission Parks. I'm reading this obituary with the permission of Tom Parks, who's here today, and I appreciate you allowing me to do this. Molly graduated from Old Orchard Beach High School in 2009 and attended 1 year at SMCC until her addiction took over. Most recently, she was employed as a delivery driver for Coleman Fire Company in Manchester. She enjoyed theater, fashion, reading, especially Harry Potter, and will always be remembered for her fearless personality and her trademark red lipstick. Along Molly's journey through life, she made a lot of bad decisions, including experimenting with drugs. She fought her addiction to heroin for at least 5 years and had experienced a near-fatal overdose before. Molly's family truly loved her and tried to be as supportive as possible as she struggled with the heroin epidemic that has been so destructive to individuals and families. She's survived by her parents, Tom Parks and his wife, Cat Noble Solomon, Patty Mission Parks of Berlin, sister Cassie of Orchard Beach, step siblings Justyna, Kelley, Davenport, Bedford, and maternal grandparents. That was very brave, I think, of Tom to put that, because that was the first time I've ever seen an obituary. We've seen some since, but that obituary went on the Associated Press, and it was blasted out nationally. Everybody nationally was talking about how brave Tom was when they had that obituary.
Sure. Speak a little bit closer to this man.
Oh, people having trouble hearing me?
On the, I wasn't listening on.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. We had 272 deaths in 2015, 189 deaths in the first 6 months of 2016, and the estimates are that we're going to surpass that, but 378 Mainers will die this year from heroin overdose. I'm just going to move up here. What Sevigny was saying is in 1997, Oxycontin was introduced by Purdue Pharma. That's where it is right there. And look at how it shot up. He's absolutely right. The FDA approved Oxycontin because Americans had a very low tolerance of pain. How many of you remember going into the hospital when you're younger years, and you were in the hospital like for a week? Then all of a sudden you went, oh my God, you're out. You had outpatient surgery. It was like overnight that. People was just amazed, and you went in for surgery, and you're getting out the next day. It used to be a little thing, you'd stay in the hospital for 3 or 4 days until you recover. And that was primarily because of Oxycontin and the overdose. These are the number of drug deaths in the 5 largest counties. We're second, past second to Canada. And again, in 2015, we had 38. It cannot be understated. When I say that it just transcends across everything, it has a huge effect. Here's a woman from Old Orchard Beach that was indicted, Brittany Green, of supplying someone a fatal dose of heroin. Now again, I I do have some handouts that I'll leave at the front here, you know, and I would ask you to get it afterward. It just talks about how heroin and opiates can actually rewire the brain. So I thank you all for being here, because we need to have this conversation, we need to keep having this conversation. It's everywhere. That first video I told you, it's just, if you don't know somebody now, you will. Somebody is battling with this. My wife, Marguerite, was at getting her hair done today, and just in a small shop, in a small shop in Saco, some guy came in and was talking about his kid, who's on heroin, doesn't know what to do with it, and it was just horrible, and she was just listening, and the guy was talking, and her hairdresser went over and whispered to her that one of the other hairdresser's son is in prison for possession of heroin. So, my time is up. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm certain we're going to have a little time for questions after. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I met that young lady that you mentioned at the jail. One of the few in there that she was out of place because she was not a drug user. I spoke to another gentleman that, an arrestee, hadn't gone to trial yet. And he was telling me about his journey into the opiates. And he didn't want to be a heroin user. He was smoking pot, and he had to change to Percocet, he was telling me, because his mother had decided to drug test him. So the mother was drug testing him for just pot, and so he would be clean in her eyes if he was using Percocet. So he then tried heroin, and he didn't shoot it, he sniffed it, and he got hooked. And I believe he was apprehended with 4 grams, so he may be a guest of the county for quite some time, and maybe end up as a guest of the state for a period of time. And he was only 19 years old. Seems like he came from a decent family. You know, we get this, we've got to be good to go. Now, a person who's very close to me, my wife, has been practicing as a nurse for a number of years in mother baby care at a major main hospital. I don't think we're allowed to say the name. Oh, we can? Well, I can say that she's from a medical center. She's not here in any official capacity. She knows the subject because it's what she deals with every day. She started off as a CNA, worked her way through school, became an LPN, now an RN with a whole bunch of letters after her name. I'm not even sure what the MNN is, but it's got to be something good. So, Justyna Coleman.
Thank you. Very good introduction. Yes, I work at Maine Medical Center, but I'm not here in any capacity or representing Maine Medical Center. I just am passionate about it. We have seen a huge increase in the most innocent kind of drug victims. We haven't talked about them yet. Sharon was talking about young people a big increase in drug-affected families in the recent years. And we've gone through a lot of training. Initially, we're thinking maternity is such a happy place, everybody's healthy, all young moms and babies are just cute, beautiful, everything goes well, it's a good place. And we couldn't escape the judgment as nurses when we started to see something out of more. Being at the medical center, we see a lot because it's a big hospital. So we did not see only regular people coming in, we had some transfers from all around the state. And we started to get education. And I must tell you, we've gone through a huge transformation of the hospital in the nursing department, of how we care for people that are drug affected. We come from a place to treat, to help, to surround people with non-judgmental approach, maybe even encouragement to do better, because that's a stressful point in their life. I'm not there to judge anybody, I'm there to make sure they're safe, to teach them, help them. Prescription drug abuse. I have a few slides to show, and this big 40% there that you see is synthetic opioids. What we heard before, it starts with prescription pills and goes to the illegal drugs. Moms don't know that they're going to be moms yet. Sometimes they're in the early stages of pregnancy. They're still using narcotics. They find out they're pregnant, they panic. They didn't plan for it. Sometimes they continue. Sometimes, and luckily there are programs once they seek a provider for their pregnancy, they get into the opioid replacement therapy, which is the buprenorphine, that is the or methadone. So they start prescription replacement of opioid to maintain and to help healthy pregnancy, because there are risks, huge risks, health risks involved in using drugs in pregnancy. When you look at a pregnant woman, we sometimes see them coming into the hospital with health problems that normally would not have had. They are just because of their drug use. We are talking about trouble breathing, altered mental status, death. IV drug users start, and very often it's a new diagnosis upon admission for delivery, hepatitis C. Hepatitis C. We are hearing in the news a lot of new cases. Hepatitis B. They end up with endocarditis, which affects their heart for the rest of their life, very often. They can get sepsis from the IV drug use because they inject a dirty needle, they start having an infection, blood infection, any disease, any sickness, fevers, sepsis of the organ, that can kill the baby fetus at that point as well. So we see those women coming in and then they have a baby. And the rest of my presentation will be about the baby. If you can move to the next. This is a short movie. It's not from Maine.
Jerking movements are symptoms of opiate addiction. He was given morphine to ease his withdrawal. His 42-year-old mother asked not to be identified. She said she became hooked on Ferguson at 17 after she had released it to the moon. For the last 6 years, she's been taking Subutex, a medication to keep her off prescription painkillers, but it is still an addictive narcotic. Dr. Jonathan Davis
that baby is affected. I take care of many babies every week, more and more, for the last few years. Increased numbers of babies that we monitor for signs of withdrawal. We use this fancy, very convoluted looking chart. It's a Finnegan scoring chart that we use right now. Currently, there are different charts in work. It helps us look for symptoms of the withdrawal in baby. And what that baby experiences, usually it starts within the first 24 hours after birth. Sometimes it's mild for a few days, sometimes it gets stronger, sometimes it stays good. It's it varies from baby to baby. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Some babies tolerate it easier, just like some of us tolerate some things better than others. Babies and an individual right from the beginning. Normal newborn stays normal. The healthy newborn that's not drug affected stays in the hospital for approximately 2 to 3 days, depending on mom's type of delivery. Those babies stay in the hospital for a minimum of 5 to 7 days. The reason for that is for nurses and the doctors to assess this baby and see how the baby's handling withdrawal. Because if that baby starts withdrawing from the narcotic that it was used to in utero, that baby goes home with parents who are still have very poor coping skills, and that baby starts withdrawing, the baby's at risk for death because the baby can develop very severe side effects from severe symptoms of withdrawal. What we're looking at, using that chart, is a constellation of withdrawal symptoms. Some of the symptoms are inconsolability, very high-pitched cry. And high-pitch means not stopping. It's a cry that doesn't respond to you picking a baby up, patting it, cuddling it, holding it. It doesn't respond to you trying to put a pacifier or food in your baby's mouth because they cannot organize their mouth around a pacifier. They cannot find a way to suck and swallow at the same time. They have problem eating. They can't gain weight appropriately. They start having diarrhea, loose stools. Their bottom is excoriated. They're in pain from that. They start shaking. They shake and we monitor them for shaking, or shaking with when we stimulate them, or just shaking on their own. It's very fine tremors. And they're using a lot of energy doing that. And we try to feed them and they can't eat. It is heartbreaking, honestly. It is heartbreaking. When you try to hold the baby, their mom sometimes